What's poppin', players? Welcome back to the Two Penny Game Club, episode 35, I believe. This is your monthly video game book club where we take a game, we play it in the background, and in the beginning of each new month, we review it and then rank it amongst the other games in the series. Make sure you're playing along with us. This month, we have The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. I am your host, Tavin Bothel, here with my good friends and co-hosts. Say hello to the people, Connor, Elliott.
Everybody, the Pope has been selected. As of today, we don't know who it is yet,
Hey!
but the Pope has been selected. That is more important than anything you'll hear on this podcast from here on out. The Pope has been selected.
Has met.
That movie, it was very timely.
It's a good movie.
I've heard it's amazing. I heard some people say it deserved to win Best Picture last year.
I think it was fine. What won?
Nora. The prostitute.
Okay.
Oh, you're fine with what? Okay, I see.
Say hello to the people, Phil Shoemaker.
Hello, I'm Phil. Connor apparently has a problem with Anora, which is an amazing movie.
No, I don't have a problem with it. I thought you were saying that Conclave was all of a sudden problematic. You said, I think it's fine.
No, I'm fine with what won. Nothing was problematic. Nothing that I saw last year. Aside from the god awful Amelia Perez.
That's the only one I've heard that I would probably not watch myself. I'll just trust what other people were saying. We're not here to talk about movies, are we, Tavin?
No, we're not. We're here to talk about Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, which I'm so excited for.
Connor brought up the Pope, so
I did.
Breath of the Wild had an initial launch date of March 3rd, 2017. It launched simultaneously with the Wii U and the Nintendo Switch. It has a Metacritic of 97, sold 34.32 million copies, developed by Nintendo EPD, published by Nintendo, directed by Hidemaru Fujibayashi, and produced by Eiji Onoma. So I guess I'll start this as usual. If you've been subscribed to the channel for a while, and if you've just listened to me ever talk about this game, you'll know I'm just not a fan of this game. And every time I've picked it up and tried it, I've always gone into it with an open mind. This time was no different. I tried to see the magic that everybody else sees, and I still remain in my previous opinion, if you saw my previous review of this a few years ago, that this game just does one thing very, very well and nothing else. Everything else about this game falls incredibly short, and I think a lot of it is borderline mediocre. The combat specifically is the game's biggest blunder. I think it's bad, and I don't get the hype behind it. And so I could go and rant and get real nerdy about the combat and how basic and boring the puzzles are and how the story is just there. Like, it's just not very interesting. But if you saw my previous thing, you'll know how I feel here. I'm sure we're going to get nerdy about a lot of those things later on down the line. So I'll keep this short, and I'll just say I think exploration in this game is done phenomenally well. I don't think there's another game on the market other than Elden Ring and, of course, Tears of the Kingdom that does exploration this well. And that's all I have positive to say about The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Everything else to me is meh. Just a bunch of meh. I don't find this game fun. I don't find this game exciting. And other than that euphoric feeling that you get when you glide off of a tower and there's always somehow miraculously a beautiful sunset over a hill or something out in the distance that catches your eye and interest. Other than that feeling, this game is pretty bland to me. But Connor, I want to cut to you and ask you on replay, how was your feeling on Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild?
As was the case when I first played it, I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I didn't know necessarily I was going to think that, but thankfully, due to that amazing exploration, as you mentioned, almost every single waking moment of my time playing this game was entertaining. Always looking at what's coming on beyond the horizon, never knowing what you're going to run up to next, whether it's going to be the shrines, which, while at the same time being the central way you do puzzles in this game, are simplistic, are fun and entertaining when you interact with them, and they're short and sweet, so you can get those nice, sweet little upgrades to get more hearts and get more stamina. Combat as well, I took more enjoyment in this time around because I thought more about how I can interact with the systems of the game. So yes, some of the attacks with the just regular melee hits don't have a lot of weight to them. More issue, though, is the fact that they ragdoll, and so they fly away from you. And so typically, if you're going to keep using those weapons, you'd have to constantly chase after them. But using things like the arrows you have, which can immobilize targets and, of course, get sick headshots off of it, and more of what I would do, which is then make use of the bombs that you're provided with to launch them at the enemy as they're, flying away from you, and then send them off flying even farther, potentially to use your arrows even more so, or to deal with them and manage with them with all of the other enemies you're probably facing at the same exact time, since rarely ever are you facing one opponent at a given point. But the beauty of it is that you can just ignore it. You can sneak past it, you can avoid enemies, and you go on to the next horizon, whether it's to beat another divine beast or do the shrines, which are mandatory due to the fact that you need to get that master sword later on. The narrative itself, while it isn't something
you don't need
crazy
to do either
to speak
of those
of,
things, but okay.
It's not mandatory, but it's a lot of fun doing it.
Don't you need the master sword? Like,
Nope.
No.
No? Oh.
Just beat the shit out of Ganon.
Okay, well, never mind then. Then I guess you could do whatever you want. Even better.
You can literally jump off the plateau and immediately go fight Ganon.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that makes sense. I was foolish and to think I'm a fan of this game. But the narrative itself, while it's nothing crazy to speak of, I think it does a very good job being a game that takes place 100 years after the actual events took place. And so the game is filled with the sense of melancholy of the failed mission that could have been, and through the memories that you can access in the game, that develops the story past a point that it rewards you for engaging with, once again, the exploration to provide a better, more somber narrative that makes you care about these characters just a bit more, especially the dynamic between Link and Zelda. The music I do love. I've heard from some people it's not very well liked because it's fragmented. It's not like a lot of typical other soundtracks for video games, but it once again fits with the theme of that feeling of melancholy and the theme of degradation, and how the music almost seems like parts of it are missing, just like how parts of Link's memory are missing, and Hyrule isn't complete itself due to the Calamity Ganon event that took place 100 years beforehand. I enjoy the art style. They make good use of art style to make it a pleasing game to look at, which is very important when you're going on these constant walking cycles over and over and over again, which that's the mark of a good game, not only for good exploration, but good visuals, good things to play around with in the game itself when you're just never really bored. I was surprised I was going to be liking the exploration as much as I did the second time around, since sometimes I feel like exploration, it's really only good when you first go through with it. But then I was surprised to see that I was, always looking for the next thing to do, whether it was a shrine or take out an enemy encampment, despite the fact that I had done that with my past experience with the game, which was around 85 hours. And this time I, probably put somewhere around 40 maybe. And I really just got ahead of myself just walking around and going exploring what the world has to offer. And I actually, spoiler alert, we talked about this game before. I came to appreciate the weapon degradation system this time more around, thanks to, Tavin and Phil, despite the fact Tavin doesn't really like the game all that much. Constantly getting that new weapon and, being like, ooh, I get another royal broadsword. I love those royal broadswords. Royal broadswords, everybody?
It keeps you on your
Thumbs
toes.
up. Keeps you on your toes, exactly. Well, not exactly perfect, that system itself. It wasn't a negative as it was when I first played this game. Overall, I think it's an incredibly fun experience that touches your heart just a little bit, if you're willing to engage with the narrative more so than what it just gives you on the plate.
Phil, where are you at with Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild?
Well, spoiler alert, I fucking love Breath of the Wild. This is my third major playthrough of this game. I every single time playing through this game, I think it'll grow like a little stale in my mind. But you know, going into this one, I was probably there a little more. I was like, oh man, I wonder how I'm gonna feel about it after having that like amazing sequel that was Tears of the Kingdom. But of course, I tried to do my best to separate that out. And I thoroughly loved my adventure for the third time around in this version of Hyrule. Um, I think the only major things that I don't love are, you know, those missing upgrades that we get in Tears of the Kingdom, you know, and it can be kind of a slog to be like, oh yeah, I don't have access to that. Let me
But you
kind
can't
of change
use that
gears
as
and go back.
as a con against this game.
I know. I'm just saying. I'm just saying that for me personally, I had to switch gears and get out of that mindset. Right.
Back to the experience.
Right. I think it rains a bit too much. I think that rain can really kind of slow the pace of this game down to a crawl.
I love rain.
And you know, I went into this thinking I wasn't going to enjoy combat. I like looking back on it because it's been a couple years since I've actually played Breath of the Wild. I was like, yeah, I don't remember the combat being super good. I really liked interacting and experimenting with like different things with the combat in this. I found a huge love for the boomerang weapons. Those are extremely fun to mess around with. Specifically like the giant boomerang you can find. It's kind of rare. It's kind of a rare thing to find, but it's a giant weapon and you just throw it and fucking and you can sweep through a bunch of different enemies and it'll come back to you. And something so satisfying about catching it as it comes back to you. I really liked we didn't really talk about the horse as much, but
oh yes,
I think horse riding overall is also another negative. It's one of the worst horse riding mechanics in games, but it's not all that necessary. That being said, I did catch and board 3 different horses in this adventure just because I thought they were unique. I found one that was like the standard Legend of Zelda one that looks like Epona from Ocarina of Time. There was a fun pink one that I found that I thought was, oh wow, a pink horse. It's like pink and white. It's very cute. And then I found one that was like a weird, like kind of shade of green. And so I was like, that green horse, I gotta have that one. And of course, the ugly one, the green one, had like the best stats out of the 3 that I caught. So that was the one that I was using the most. Also, like, I love shield surfing in this game. That's probably one of my favorite ways to get around, other than like just paragliding. I like the way when it is raining. I like the way kind of you can interact with lightning and how the different elements kind of interact with each other. I think it's kind of neat that if you're using a metal weapon, there's a chance that you can get struck by lightning. So you have to switch what weapons you're using in inventory. I think that's kind of a neat way for Link to be even more like immersed in the environment. I think the way you can shoot a shock arrow into like a puddle and it makes a big dome of electricity, I think that's really cool. And I really like Connor brought up the memories. I think that kind of those hidden kind of cutscenes that kind of rebuild Link's memories in that way really kind of put an added layer of depth to like kind of finding out what happened all those times, the storytelling of this game and finding out what happened 100 years ago, and how you can read through the diaries throughout the world and get even more information that way, and talk to Purah and just all and Impa and all the different characters you interact with in this game. But overall, I would say that this game really brought back, I mean, it was only 8 years ago whenever the game came out, but like it really brought me back to that time where I was fresh out of high school. I bought the first gaming console I bought with my own money. You know, it was a good time. It brought me back to me being a fresh adult and buying things for myself, and really enjoyed my time with it.
That's very good, Phil, but it wasn't 8 years ago. So get your time correctly. That was too long ago for that to be true.
You can do the math. You can.
It was 8 years ago.
Just do the math.
It doesn't feel like 8 years ago.
Yeah. I just don't feel how you guys feel about this game, and that like that's where we're like eventually just going to have to end up. But just for the sake of conversation and devil's advocate and stuff, like I feel like the game just has a lot of problems and like commits a lot of sins or doesn't go far enough. And fans of the game, like you two gentlemen, but more not so much with you guys, but definitely like in conversations online and just in general, like other podcasts and other reviews, I feel like a lot of the problems of this game just get hand waved away and just like nobody like actually like puts that into their complete like critique of the game. Like they just go, oh yeah, exploration's great and we feel great doing it, and I'm left baffled because I genuinely like, I don't think this game is as creative as a lot of people say it is. I don't think this game is as in depth as a lot of people say it is. And I think in general, a lot of the mechanics I would expect in almost every open world game that comes across, a play session from me. Like if I throw something electric into a lake, I expect the lake to react to it. Like that's kind of basic in the modern era. And yes, you can rewind the clock 8 years. It's still basic in that era. BioShock was doing this in 2000, whatever year that game came out, 7. And so like, I just don't understand how this game gets points for the basics, for getting the bare basics included, but then doesn't get points off for like swinging and missing so hard. I think this combat really does suck. Connor, you mentioned it, the ragdolling and then the chasing the enemies down or just like constantly just like kicking them while they're down. It's just not fun to me. And you can make the excuse of like, well, then you don't have to interact with it. In what other game is that a positive? Like, that's not a positive. That is a negative. Well, I have to ignore this major element of gameplay in order to enjoy myself. In what other game would that be considered a good thing?
Tavin, how fun is it whenever your enemy you're facing is using a metal weapon and you can magnesis their weapon out of their hand, and they go like, you grab my weapon. It's super fun.
Never did it. You know why? Because more often than not, the quickest and most efficient way through combat is just hitting them with the sword. And you can do those creative things like pulling it out of their hands. Yes, you can use a bomb arrow as they roll down a hill to do damage from them from afar. But more often than not, the game doesn't reward you enough, the player, for doing these things. It takes more time, it takes more effort, and there's not enough of a carrot on the stick to do these things. Like, it's just not, in my opinion, it's not worth getting creative in this game because it requires more setup than payoff.
I think, well, first of all, I didn't even know about the magnesis part,
Yeah.
Because I think that proves the point of, well, the more you want to interact with it, the better it gets. I mean, through the ways I was saying it as
just
well.
Hand wave it away. Okay.
No, I'm not hand waving it away. I think you're saying that because you didn't interact with it, you didn't like it. You
I'm
don't
saying
you're
not
putting
worth
it down because you didn't.
With,
but why are you saying that? You said there's benefits to doing it, whether you're stasising somebody and you want to send them flying a bit more, taking their weapon out of their hands, which, almost like it's like taking their balls off, throwing away, like hitting the bomb and, making them send them flying, which in a lot of instances in the game, you're sending them, tumbling down a cliff away from you out of the combat encounter or down a ravine, and they're just, dead when they hit the bottom. Point is, though, that, even if you don't want to engage with these things, as you said, more, you can avoid them, because it seems clear to me like you want to efficiently get by them as much as possible when you also don't want to engage with the systems the game hands you to deal with the enemies in the first place.
But in what other game is that a positive? There's other games that do that. It's almost never a positive.
I don't see why. I just mentioned the points why it was positive.
My point is, Connor, swinging a sword in this game doesn't feel good. And yes, you can take a metal weapon out of the enemy's hands, and that does create a sense of, oh, how many times are you really doing that? Maybe you're Phil and you do it all the time, and that's fine. But my point is, it's more efficient just to hit them with the sword, because they're not aggressive enough. They don't. For most enemies, they'll like flinch off of a small hit and delay their own attacks, so you can get that third hit off that knocks them down pretty easily. Like there's just no incentive to do these things other than they're there.
I think in that case you enjoy the combat more. I think, sure, efficiency isn't the most strong word for that,
Connor-
but you enjoy the combat far more.
I
In the same
did
exact
these
way,
things. I did these things. It's not a matter of I'm not doing it. I did these things, and I found them weak. They didn't do enough. It wasn't worth it. It was more worth it to just kill them quicker and move on.
And to your point, to a degree, I'm not saying this makes the combat system sing, but it makes it fun. And that's why a lot of elements of this game are, at the bare least, fun. There's not a single bad mechanic in the game besides the horse racing, which, as Phil touched on, the horse riding. You don't really use it that much. A lot of the time, you're climbing over hills.
You can get away with actually like just not even interacting with a horse.
Yeah, this time I used a horse literally once because I was in a meadow and there was a wild horse there, and I was like, well, I got to cross this meadow anyway, so let me jump on this horse and go.
I used it like 3 times myself. And additionally, aside from the combat, which again I state is fun, the puzzles, while also not super complex, they don't make them sing. They're fun. Every single time you go to a new shrine, it's fun to just, even if it's easy, the process of using a lot of the systems you get access to, causing ice blocks to raise from water, causing things to, like I said earlier, hit them to have some kind of physic effect to complete puzzles, as well as using magnesis, which in terms of puzzle mechanic solving usually is the most boring way to do it, but even still, you'll run into occasions where it's fun, using the magnesis specifically.
I guess
overall,
I'm glad you brought the shrines back up, because I didn't even I forgot to even mention shrines and how much I enjoyed them in this playthrough. I really dug that in a good amount of the shrines. It's not all of them. I would like for there to be more, but in a good amount of the shrines, the challenge itself completes that puzzle. You can finish it there, but for a lot of them, they have an extra little like bonus challenge in the shrine, right? Like it's like, oh, you do the one where you stasis the ball and you can hit it to the end, and then there's like a bonus area where there's an even harder challenge where you hit the ball further and land it in the hole, like a little golf hole, and you get another like bonus weapon or any other kind of item or some kind of rupee reward and monetarily reward yourself. But I also think of this one where you have, I don't want to explain the shrine puzzle, but I really just dug the different rewards and different tiers of things you can do within the shrines themselves. Also, like, I like how some of the puzzles are kind of non-linear, like you can solve them in different ways. There's an obvious like way you're supposed to solve it. Like I think of there's an electric puzzle kind of towards the desert, where you're just grabbing these little metal blocks and lining them up on these little electric panels to complete the circuits, right? You can, if you have like metal weapons in your inventory, you can just take them out of your inventory and link the circuits that way. You don't even need to interact with the metal blocks themselves. Yeah, and I think that's really cool. And also, like, in terms of also puzzle elements throughout the world, the Koroks, all the different Koroks you can find throughout the world. And I think, even though I played through this game 3 different times, I stand by the idea that I'm pretty sure that I found Koroks in this playthrough that I never even interacted with in my first 2.
There's so many.
Yeah, there's just there's 909.
A lot of rocks.
I knew I was waiting on you to say it. I was waiting on you to say it again.
I just picked up all the rocks.
Yeah, picked up more rocks, shot more targets, aligned more little metal blocks on the little statues to kind of make them symmetrical, or however those puzzles work. But I just really enjoyed them popping up. I think they're a really fun collectible in themselves. Just like the you found me. I think it's really cute.
I always love dropping the rocks on their heads after the fact, and they go. They make weird little noises, cute little guys.
Whimpers.
I do like.
I do like those.
The Koroks are fun in this game. Yes. Back to puzzles, Connor. Like, I just don't think these puzzles are fun. The most fun I have are the ones that are like the environment, the open world environment is the puzzle. Like, there's one somewhere in the ice area where the shrine is in a cave, but the low-hanging cave is so low that you can't like glide into it. So you have to traverse this icy water that's like pushing against you to get through it. It's like draining your health really, really fast. Yeah, that was one where I was like, oh, okay, this is where you're using the mechanics of the game, your different Sheikah Slate abilities, in a way that like allows me to like think about, okay, how do I want to handle this? How do I do this? And then reward me for doing it. I think the actual shrines themselves, when you get into them, dude, these are so basic and so easy. Like, you can call them fun if you want. I don't think they're fun because it is literally, I enter the shrine, I take one quick scan of the environment and go, okay, I have to do this, this, and this, and and then I beat the shrine. Like, it's never what do I do here? How do I, like, there's no making me feel smart. A lot of these shrines, the majority of these shrines, are the equivalent of the child's toy of putting the square block in the square hole. Like, at some point, that's not fun anymore. Like, and like, I just think game development, I think game ethos has evolved to a point to where these are inexcusable. Like, these are too simple and too basic.
Kind of piggybacking off of you talking about that specific like rushing river shrine, you can use your Sheikah Slate and your different Cryonis abilities to get there, or you can do what I did and use your stamina bar to just climb around the rock and do a back jump onto the platform.
Perfectly valid. I didn't have enough stamina at the time to do that, so like I used my abilities and so forth. But that's an example of like the game allowing the player to be creative with it. There's just too few instances of this. The game has so much bloat of just like the most basic move ball into hole or carry metal ball across a thing to activate an electric thing, like, or blow up wall, okay, here's a shrine, you win now. Like, there's too much of that basic stuff to like reward the game for the few times that it does force me to be creative or force me to think about it. Specifically, the tests of strength really drag this back. There's way too many of them. More often than not, they're too easy. And I think they trivialize one of the few enemy types in this game that are actually interesting to fight. Overall, I think enemy variety in this game is severely lacking. Not so much like in design and how they look, but for the majority of the enemies, you interact with them pretty much the same way you interact with every other enemy in the game. The big exceptions to this are the boss fights, which I also think are too easy and boring, with the exception of a few. The Lionels, which are genuinely really good and tougher than the boss fights. And then the Guardians. But these tests of strength trivialize them to where, like, the Guardian is fine now.
I like finding the big guardians. But, to your point of enemy variety, certainly it is lacking. I still retain the fact that they're fun to fight, enemies in general. But to dive back to the combat a little bit more, I do enjoy the dodge mechanics. It certainly comes into play more often.
I like beating up little kids, too. Like, why not?
Specifically, I do it most of the time with the Lionels. But it's fun just in general to dodge at an opponent's attack to get that little bit of timing down right to do those flurry of attacks. It is satisfying.
No retort there, Tavin. You don't like beating up centaur lions? You don't like that?
I said I like that. I said I like that
because they'll fight. They'll kill you back.
I don't love the parry or the dodge in this game either. I sound like such a hater when talking about this game. I don't even think it's like a bad game. I just don't think
Say it with your chest then, Tavin.
I think it's
on your sleeve.
I think it's a super average game, and people fucking suck its fucking cock and balls for doing the bare minimum, and then they don't take into effect that there's a lot of parts of this game that aren't good, and they just ignore it. And I'm like, what are we doing? This game, calling this game the greatest of all time, is just like saying Uncharted 1 is the greatest game of all time. What are we doing? Uncharted 1 is a fine game. It's fun. It's got moments, right? But like, why would you ever put it on that pedestal? That's how I feel about Breath of the Wild.
I don't think either of us have ever said that this is the greatest game of all time.
He's more talking of the 97 Metacritic.
The 97 on Metacritic and the unending flood of 10 out of 10s this game got.
I'll agree it's too high.
Is what do that. And where both of you are going to end up ranking this is ridiculous in my mind. Like, it's just like
spoilers, Tavin.
We're just no, just because I know who you people are. It's not even a matter of we've recorded this before, like, and it didn't work, so we had to re-record it. It's just a matter of I know where you guys hold this, and that's ridiculous. Like it's absolutely ridiculous. If it met somewhere in the middle, that would be a little more understandable. But oh my god, we're gonna get to that later. But I don't think the dodge and the parry are that great. I think the timing window's pretty tight, which normally would be great, but I don't think the enemy animations are clear enough or not always clear enough to where like you could always take advantage of that outside of like the Lionels and the Guardian. And some of the boss fights. And so and even when I do it, it's kind of awkward, right? Like when you do that perfect dodge out of the way and jump, you're kind of hanging in the air for a long time. And like, there's that weird, like 2 seconds where you're mashing the attack button, but Link hasn't hit the ground yet. So he's not going to start attacking yet. Like, it's just kind of awkward and kind of deflates the moment of epicness that the slowdown enables.
See,
to me.
For me, it doesn't deflate it. If anything, it's like, oh, I nailed it, yes, and then I'm gonna fucking punish this guy for letting me get that perfect dodge on him.
The moment I'm specifically saying beat by beat here. I'm being granular here. The dodge and the slowdown, yes, it does do that. But then there's that awkward moment where Link's just hanging in the air. And I'm like, all right, I just gotta wait for Link to get to the ground so that then I can start attacking.
Less than a second, though.
No, it is probably
It's
2 seconds. It's probably 2 seconds, and that's
I think it's like 3.
No,
that might be pushing it. That might be pushing it. But like, it's just
okay.
that beat that I go, okay, come on. And that moment wouldn't exist is if the dodge, slow down, just let me start hitting, and he just starts going, like, and he just zips to the enemy and does it, because that's what he does anyway. So, like, why do I have to hang in the air for a few seconds? Like, it's just the small things that deflate mechanics that would have been great, but, and this is a general statement across the board, there were mechanics that would have been great, but then they do something to it to make it just kind of eh.
I think the parry system works when you're deflecting lasers.
The lasers,
as far as that system
I
goes.
agree. The lasers are fun to deflect. They're hard to deflect, and they're fun to deflect. You know.
And if you lose it, you lose your shield, which is devastating when you start getting in that death spiral.
Even if you do it, you're losing your shield. Like, you're just losing everything. I critique the combat a lot, like really hard. I don't think weapon degradation is a bad call. I think it makes sense, like for the design purposes of what this game is trying to go for. My problem with it specifically is they do not diversify weapon types enough to justify having this weapon degradation system in the game. You generally have 3 weapon types being like your normal one-handed sword, a two-handed weapon, and then a spear. And they all have different attack animations and speeds, but they all generally, there is some variety. Two-handed weapons are going to be your strongest weapons and do the most damage, but it's not enough of a difference between that and the other 2 variants to justify the attack animation windups and executions of the animations and the durability of each weapon. Like, it's just not, like, they need to diversify the damage more, and have, like, the spear needs to, like, attack so much faster. Like, but instead it's about the same pace of attack as the one-handed and the two-handed, and then they all do about the same amount of damage. So I end up using weapons I don't like, because that's just what I have at the moment, and I don't think that enables the player to have a lot of choice.
I disagree on a couple of fronts. In terms of weapon variety, the spear more so. I do think it attacks substantially quicker than the other ones do, but a lot of it's also range. It
not
keeps
enough.
enemies, especially well, it's a really good crowd control weapon because very easily you get overwhelmed as long as you're not constantly on the move. Usually when you're facing the grunt enemies, and so the spear forms the function of constantly keeping them at bay, constantly stunning them, and you switch from target to target to target. Meanwhile, the sword is more for outright damage dealing because along with the heavy-handed weapon, which more about is staggering them and using the because you only hit them twice before they kind of start going ragdolly, and also can hit more enemies at once. The sword itself, because the spear, it trades off range for doing less damage. The number damage is lower than that of the sword, the one-handed weapon, or the two-handed weapon. They do serve different functions, especially when you add on the different things that can apply to weapons, whether it's extra damage, longer throw range, higher durability.
Ideally, yes, that's what it is supposed to do. I don't feel like the game actually executes on those ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Like
I would make the argument that the giant weapon is much better for crowd control because if the hold.
Yeah, I don't understand the spear being the crowd
chargeability.
control weapon.
the charge ability for the heavy weapon is like the big rotating, spinning the
Yeah,
weapon around you. I think that's much more effective for crowd control.
Also, why are you getting overwhelmed in this game? How are you getting overwhelmed in this game?
because I go up against a lot of enemies sometimes. Like
like I don't
time.
see it. I don't see it. I'm interacting with the combat just as much as you. I'm attacking bokoblin camps. I'm going through the beasts and getting like, is there ever more than like 4 enemies like at once, not including like little bats or whatever that may be around? Like 4 enemies that actually like are dangerous to you like at once. Like I don't see it. And even if it is, they ragdoll so quickly and so often that I don't understand how you could be overwhelmed in combat in this game.
I think that's what prevents it from completely overwhelming you. I mean, if I were just to, focus on one enemy, I'm getting overwhelmed. So I'm constantly switching from target to target to target.
Did you guys ever shoot a bomb arrow into one of those big hordes of keys, the big hordes of bats?
Yes,
Oh,
that's gets the hell out of the way. Gets them out of the
cool.
way. Mm-hmm.
No,
Cool.
I just waited for them to charge me, and then I swung my sword, and I was fine.
No, you
That gets
shoot,
rid of them
shoot
right
one
away.
bomb arrow, it'll just like they'll go up in smoke. It's great.
Pussies.
I mean, why? When you could just swing your sword and be fine.
Because it gets them away right away.
Connor, you're right.
It's a more
Connor-
entertaining way of getting rid of them.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Connor, you're right. This combat does have moments of challenge if I never press the attack button. Then it's challenging. Sure.
I never said it was challenging. I said you can get overwhelmed, and you have tools at your disposal to deal with it. Whether it's bombs, whether it's the different weapon types you have. The combat's not difficult. It's fun.
I think this is a simpleton's game. Like, if you have played 5 games in your life, then yeah, this is the greatest thing ever. But like, I've played hundreds of games in my life, and this game does one thing special, and it's certainly not combat.
Well, to reinforce that idea of it being a simpleton's game, there's not a lot of like deep thought that goes into it compared to the Tears of the Kingdom, specifically with shrines. That's the main thing I think of. But I think of another game that's often compared to this one that you've played that me and Phil have not, Death Stranding. Mm-hmm. And that's a game that's about walking, right? That's what you do over and over and over again. And I've heard some differing opinions on it. You obviously are very up on it, and I think I would be as well. The managing of the system of walking becomes a system in and of itself. And through that, I'm presuming that it makes those moment-to-moment gameplay very, very fun. The combat doesn't seem all that great in that game either. This seems like there's enjoyment to have in it. But even with that, you're constantly being entertained by the exploration, since all of it really goes back to that. The majority of the time, that's what you're engaging with in the game.
It's a little bit about the exploration. It's mostly building up resources and making the journey easier for yourself.
It's not like a 1-to-1 ratio game. It's more just the fact of doing something as simple as walking across a landscape can be incredibly fun based off what you're doing in between all of those moments of walking around. The journey is better than the destination, so on and so forth. Speaking of which, I liked going around and finding new ingredients to make dishes. I love cooking in this game.
Yeah.
I play around with it a lot.
Before we dive into cooking, can I respond to the Death Stranding thing real quick?
Oh yeah, sure.
Yes, I like Death Stranding. Yes, I certainly like it more than this game. I do generally think Death Stranding is a better game than this game. Not by much. And when we eventually do Death Stranding in this show, Death Stranding is going nowhere near the top 10. Even if I could personally place it in the list or whatever, it's going nowhere near the top 10. Just based off of how you guys talk about this game, I know this game is landing in the top 10 somewhere. And that's where my issue is because we just give it too much praise for what it does. It doesn't do enough. It just plainly doesn't do enough. Cooking is, I didn't say it at the top again because I keep forgetting what I want to start with. But this was the first review we've ever done on this channel that I was not excited to do. I don't like talking about games like this. I don't like talking about games with you guys like this. This isn't fun for me. And the fact that I've already done it on this channel, I'm like, all right, cool. I just got to repeat myself and constantly take this hand-wavy, make excuses approach from the fans of yeah, but it makes me feel good. Sure, it makes you feel good, but the game isn't that good. There's a difference between how the game makes you feel and what the game actually does.
I'm sorry, before we go into
the beauty of art.
The thing is, Tavin, Death Stranding has an 82. This is a 97. So your criticism of thinking that
82 is well deserved.
Yeah,
82 is well
97
deserved.
seems to be 97 is pretty well deserved. It's not.
No,
I wouldn't give it 97.
I think on the low side, this game deserves like a 90.
This game should be nowhere near the 90s.
It's an element that I would double back to Yakuza, where there's a ton of different elements in the game, and all of them are fun to varying
Rare.
degrees. I think, in the ways I just described them, at least like the puzzles, yeah, not super complex. They're fun. They're entertaining to deal with. Same thing with combat. The more you interact with it, it's fun. You know, a lot of these things, I'm not going to try and act like it's the best in its field, except for exploration. It's just a variety of elements that all are entertaining that lead to a very, fun final product. We're playing video games here, buddy. We're playing.
I think you're letting if you're to break down critique into different scales, you're letting 6 out of 10 combat, 6 out of 10 puzzles, 6 out of 10 whatever else you want, and you're treating it just because they're all 6s. Now the game's a 9. It's not like a God of War thing where everything's an 8 and so it becomes a 10, right? Like, especially because their next time up to bat, they prove they can do it better.
7s, I would give 7s out of 10s, and then the 10 out of 10 for that exploration. Connor,
play a puzzle game, and then you'll realize how terrible these puzzles are.
We played Portal and Portal 2. The kings of puzzle games, as many would probably argue.
They're up there.
Mm-hmm. But cooking, yeah, I love cooking.
Cooking, yeah.
I love putting things in a pot. Specifically, of course, buying things is where you usually get into the depths of this cooking mechanic.
I did not purchase a single ingredient.
And then you didn't make any fucking desserts, did you? No tarts?
No, I felt like I made all kinds of different shit, but I never had to buy anything.
Not enough. Gore and spice unlocks so much. Do you know what gore and spice does for your palate? A number of things. And also, I do enjoy how, beyond just my own personal enjoyment that I get out of cooking, the gameplay benefits that can be integrated are, something I often use. You could, of course, make elixirs that give you, damage up and sneakiness and whatnot, but more often than not, yeah, exactly. You could do these exact same things by adding certain elements that give a detailed description of, what exactly it will do to make dishes, like I just said, to not only heal your hearts, but also give you a little bit more speediness. More often than not, I'm doing damage resistance or damage up because I like violence and I like participating in it in a fictional setting because it's acceptable. But, and again, that goes back into the idea of it's just super fun to play around with. I always go into cooking sessions. It's never just let me do 2 dishes because I see a fire here and then move on. I'm like, all right, 30 minutes are gonna go by.
I'm never making just one dish, right? I gotta be emptying out my my ingredients every time I go to a pot,
100%.
And you don't even need to because it's you don't have a limit to the inventory space. At least I never reached it. You do for food.
I want to say there is an for ingredient space. I don't think there is, but
no.
I think there is some kind of cap on the amount of dishes you can hold, but I've never hit it.
I did many times. It goes to show you how much I cooked in that game.
Well, that spawned a new thought in my head. I don't so there's, dude, I could carry 100 steaks, but I can't carry 5 weapons without getting an upgrade.
You can't carry 100 steaks. You can carry 99 steaks.
He's right. This is a video game.
All right, I could carry 3,000 bat wings, but I can't pick up this extra bow.
So long as each of them are different types of bat wings.
Does it just cap out at 99? Is that what you're telling me?
I think it stops at 99. I could be wrong. But
the number can only go so high, Tavin.
Regardless, there's 5 different types, so that's almost 500 different bat wings that I'm like, okay.
When are you ever getting that much? But you're selling it.
But I can't have more than 3 shields without getting upgrades. Okay.
You're either selling them or you're using them to upgrade your armor.
I also found it quite fun to find the armor
upgrading is great. I love the armor upgrading.
Yeah, the fairies, through which you upgrade it are fun to, get kissed. I like getting kissed by them.
God damn it! I don't even want to do this anymore.
If you get all 4, she takes you into the fountain with her.
Hey, what happens?
What happened? Wait, what? What happens?
Yeah, when you get the final upgrade, she hugs you and basically
pulls you into the fountain. Yeah.
Does not have sex with you, of course.
I
That's
just fucking
this is a kid's
drooled
game.
a little bit, like.
Yeah, he's like, well, I'm gonna go play that game again.
Oh, I'm gonna go
You
play
have
this.
motivation
Guys,
to pick
10
up
out of
again.
10, top of the list. You know.
Maybe you drooling.
To cooking, I think cooking is fine. I think it works for what it is. There's just like everything else. There's just certain things that hold it back. I think there's too many options in cooking, and there's not a clear enough like recipe guide. I'm not even talking about like if I want this specific thing. Like I'm talking like simple like, hey, if you do a protein and a fruit, like if the game never tells you if you do a protein, a fruit, and a herb, you get like this like really you get a really nice thing or anything like that. Like or like it never like breaks down the science behind the cooking without mass.
Yeah, the math isn't there.
Yeah,
It
like
does do it
without
in-
doing mass experimentation, without doing crazy experimentation where you go, all right, let me do all this, and then at that point, you, the player, have to start writing down notes. And in other games, I think writing down notes is great. I don't think it's necessary in this game because more often than not, yes, Connor, you can cook other things to get your different stats up, or you know, I'm climbing faster for 3 minutes. I have heat resistance for 5 minutes, whatever it is, right? Whatever your little stat boost that you want up on there. Yes, that is true. That can happen. The game forces you to do that 3 times. So other than those 3 times, it's not really necessary at all to interact with the cookie system in that way. So I found myself just filling my hands with as much as I could, throwing it in the pot, and hoping for the most amount of hearts I could get out of a single dish as possible. Because
And that's what-
from there,
How much
the armor does all the heavy lifting.
how much dubious food or rock hard food did you make?
Simmered fruit, buddy. Simmered fruit.
Only a couple of dubious foods because I would think that a monster part was not like the like obvious ones that are clearly made of stone, but
Yeah.
like there would be like some like organic looking monster part that I thought would be for cooking food, and it wasn't. It's for making elixirs, and I
Guts.
think I made like 2 elixirs in this game or in this playthrough because I was just like, I don't see the need for it. Like it's just kind of like there.
You're a freak. Why are you putting those things? Why eat monsters? I'm gonna put monsters in here. That's the first
You
thing
eat
I
'em.
think of. Yeah, I love
Well,
monsters.
I mean, it
You
looked
can
appetizing.
put monsters in there for stronger elixirs, yeah, but
Yeah, I remember there's the scene in
There was also
TV
the
show,
moment
The Witcher.
where I'm sorry to cut you off, Connor. The fucking the Jello looking motherfuckers.
Jujus.
Jujus. The Choo-Choos.
Choo-Choos.
I like that depending on what weapon you use to beat them can change the type of juju jelly you get out of it. It's called jelly. I thought it would be used for food. And so when I got red Choo-Choos, I was like, "Oh, that's for heat resistance, right? Or cold resistance, whichever way your personal logic puts you in, right? And no, it's not.
It should be for elixirs.
It's for elixirs, but it's called
it's also
jelly.
cool.
You put jelly on toast. Come on.
You
it's
kill
also
some of it-
cool because not only when you kill them, if you just shoot the jelly itself with that element, it'll change the element.
Oh, that's neat.
Yeah.
Connor, you were
That makes
saying
sense.
something. I think you were going to The Witcher, but I'm not sure.
Oh, it's the times past. It was just
Okay. All
it was a little jokey thing.
right. Yeah, I made so much simmered fruit because you just have so many apples. Like you have hundreds of apples.
Yeah.
Like you said, Phil. Every time I get to a cooking pot, I'm emptying my inventory. Like I'm just dumping so many. I tried to like mix it up like as much as possible, so I'll have like one ingredient of everything. But eventually, I just have so many apples where I'm like, here's 5 apples in a fucking pot.
Hell yeah.
Are you aware, by the way, you probably, of course, do, that there's multiple different ranks of, like, meat as well?
Yeah.
That
Oh yeah.
dives into that? Yeah, okay.
Like the prime meat, you know, we got all that good stuff.
Gourmet, prime meat.
Yeah. Good stuff. Good stuff. I think I want to get into upgrading armor again because we kind of just skipped over a little bit.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think it's really cool in a really fun way. To like when you get to the Great Fairy and maybe you're missing a certain ingredient. I think a really cool thing that the game has for you is if your Sheikah Slate is upgraded, you can take a picture of one of those ingredients in your inventory, and then you can find it in the overworld like you would find a shrine. And how exciting is it? Just in talking about this shrine radar thing, how exciting is it when you're just running around the open world and then all of a sudden, plum plum on your little things like, oh, there's one close. I gotta go find one.
Yeah, that was always a nice thing, especially when I was trying to get those Lionel parts for my upgrades. As well as we mentioned enemy variety, and this is going back a bit, but I did very much like the Hinoxes and the Tauluses those weren't combat encounters when you ran into them during the game were fun to deal with. The tallest being the giant rock monsters. They have different rocks on them that are used, of course, for you mine them and you get materials to sell, and maybe some salt, maybe get some rock salt. But destroying those as well as fighting the big ass Linuxes, I enjoyed as well, though they aren't so common to the point where I would say that's the greatest strength in terms of its combat. But they're just a couple other enemy varieties that they added that are fun to deal with. Boss-like enemies.
The tiny rock guys, I think it's funny that you can just pick them up and throw them.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
I think it's funny. I'm like, all right, cool. Oh, there's 3 of you. Ooh.
Dangerous.
Come and get me. Oh, you almost got me that time.
Just run. You gotta blow them up
It's
too.
like when you have like a little sibling and you just like hold their head back as they're trying to get you.
And then the big sibling comes in and you're like, oh, I'm sorry.
I was like, oh,
I didn't mean to disrespect you. I'm sorry.
Connor, I want to double back to something that you said in your initial thing. And Phil, I want your
Yes.
opinion on this as well.
Okay.
Melancholy? Like, I don't
Yeah.
I don't feel it, like a sense of melancholy throughout the game. I don't feel it in moments. There, sure, in cutscenes, sure.
Moments,
specifically in the beginning, 100%. But like overall, like I think the game is quite cheery. Like
I think that's where the music really comes into effect. I know you're trying to ask maybe Phil more about this since I mentioned it, but it's the combination of seeing the ruins of what once was, especially compounded by the fact that you're seeing these old memories, and it's the thriving civilization. It's not as barren as it is in the game, and you realize the impact of what Calamity Ganon did over these past courses of years, and then you just get that little twinge of it. It's not the strongest thing, it's not an overwhelming feeling, but it just adds to that the nice vibe the game gives off just when you're simply going across the land. That might just be me though. Emotions are a big. How you feel emotionally in a video game is extremely personalized, and that's one of the reasons why I thoroughly enjoy this game and just walking around. It fills me with that sense of like that wonder, that sense of wonder, and like I said, sometimes melancholy. If I said it was ever present, that was too strong of a description. But it's there, and it's
Okay.
nice when I feel them. Yeah.
Okay, sure. Phil?
I mean, I think that's kind of a big, just how empty some of the spaces you come across that are like ruined, and not necessarily empty because they're like filled with enemies, but like you see all the destruction that's in this world, and kind of
Degradation.
us as the player, we've never seen Hyrule in this state of ruin, other than like in the future, as in Ocarina of Time. It's a little bit different, but it's never been like fully abandoned and like just from like originally I think of the Hyrule Gate, and there's all of those guardian carcasses from where they were trying to assault the gate, and they're just like kind of piled on top of each other like fucking World War Z zombies.
I do like that that area.
Yeah. And that's kind of the vibe I get, and kind of, oh man, this kingdom has fallen. And that's another reason I really like the specific cutscene in one of the memories where Zelda is essentially like knighting Link officially, and they're like about to go to that final battle, and all the champions are like just watching it happen, and like they just know they're going into a losing battle. And it's very as Connor said, very melancholy.
Okay.
Melancholic.
I could see that. In terms of the open world, I don't feel that way. I just kind of feel like this is a pretty empty open world. But they do a good enough job of like diversifying biomes and different environments to where it doesn't feel as empty as it really is. But if you look at like points of interest on the map, there's not that many. And most of them are just horse stables. But I'll relent with the memories. I fucked that up because the 2 or so memories I got were tutorials, and so it was Zelda like not so subtly being like, oh, you should use armor to like, or elixirs or something to get through your thing. And then the other one was by the Hyrule Castle, which she specifically was like, look at this flower. It could be used for something. Maybe you should try it. Oh, look at this frog. You could cook it into a dish. And I'm like, okay, Zelda, thanks. So then I got those 2, and I never did another memory ever again.
And a lot of that is more, highlighted why those scenes are the way they are when you see them in sequence, in the way they're supposed to be watched. Because Zelda herself, for a large portion of those memories, has issue with Link because he reminds her of her failure to, receive the goddess's blessings and powers to
achieve her
fight
goals.
against Calamity. Because the whole reason why they failed was only because her role was not fulfilled. Everything else probably would have gone off well if that just wasn't a factor. And so, seeing her be reminded, and there's not a lot of subtlety in this game. They do at one of the cutscenes kind of just tell you this. I think it's the memory with Urabosa, but you see the development from this. I don't like this guy. He's following me around. He reminds me of my failures. To I'm kind of falling in love with this guy. And the tone of being kind of disrespectful to him, to the ones you watched, while they are, of course, gameplay, like they give you ideas of how you can use cooking and whatnot. It's also to show you that, she's, actually become a friend to this person. They're allies. And, it's once again, that compounds the fact of.
I just think it's crazy they made those cutscenes then, because like by the time you find those memories, you're more than likely multiple hours into the game. If you haven't thrown a frog into a fucking pot yet, what are you doing?
Exactly. So that's why we're like, I think, well, here's their relationship getting to a point where they're on good terms. Yeah.
And that, I think it's even more clear in Zelda's journal in Hyrule Castle, like kind of the development of her feelings toward Link, because she does touch on a lot of how she resents him and how he's very successful in such a short time, whereas she's been trying for so long, but she can't achieve what she's been trying to do.
After you beat Ganon, what happens to the game? Like, is it a you can keep exploring all you want, but Ganon is defeated, or is it a rewind?
It's a rewind back before you defeat Calamity Ganon again.
Because I didn't
essentially
explore
before you even enter the castle almost.
Because I didn't explore
throne
Hyrule
room.
Castle because that is such a like war path that you go through. So I just kind of like beelined it as quick as I could to just get to the boss fight. And I was like, all right, cool. I did it. And then when I did it, it was a very underwhelming boss fight. And then the credits rolled and I turned the game off. And I was like, all right,
I'm not going to give credit to this game because it's not only a DLC in which we didn't play and most other players wouldn't, but I remember watching some of them online, specifically in regards to Mipha, the Zora, who was also in love with Link. You see through her perspective and knowing Link so well that Link himself is kind of a sad character because he's thrust into this role that he's, resigned himself to fulfilling. He's not a happy person. And funny enough, when you look at his character, even of course this is after events took place, he doesn't really look happy all the time. He has a blank expression on his face, except when he's eating food or dressing up as a woman. And it just adds to the fact of like, these are all people who, Calamity Ganon's very presence has made their lives less fulfilling, made their lives worse. And it just adds on to the limited character writing, I guess you could call it, that goes on in this game.
Mipha was the only guardian I cared about.
And that was sad. That was one of the, I liked her and Urabosa. And also I liked, the Goron kind of, I like his character archetype, but not.
He's an asshole, but I love Rivali.
Well, why out of all of them do you have him? He's the only one
I like Rivali.
Yeah.
I like him.
I like the descendants that you hang out with.
Got a great design.
Those are okay. Those are cool characters, I don't think there's much to really say about each of them.
Prince Sidon.
The Guardians, which the game like wants you to care about, I don't. But I like the little descendant guys. Okay, they're okay.
Who's the descendant of Rivali again?
It's the chief guy and his son. But yeah,
because the kid is the one who gets who's the champion in the next game. So I always get
right.
I thought he was more important in this one, but I guess he was not.
So memories aside, the main plot of this game's pretty whatever, right?
It's pretty bare bones. Go save the princess. Yeah.
And I think that once again feeds back into the idea of exploration and how fun that is, and through that you can find these better story moments. It feeds back into why that system does so well. And it's when it's ever present.
It doesn't. It doesn't, because then you have players like me who find the two most boring ones and then decide not to interact with it because they don't think it's worth their time.
Well, I guess we just proved you wrong then, didn't we?
And my only defense of that would be that the most obvious first memory you can get is not one of those. It's at the horse statue. It's like basically right when you drop down from the central plateau.
Except
I forget which cutscene that is. that are facing each other, 2 horse statues that are facing each other.
I genuinely don't know what you guys are talking about because you can go in any direction. Like, so.
Yeah, it's so right there when you first leave the tutorial level.
Unless you went a little
Plateau.
bit more to the right. Like,
That's true. And then
so
you have to find
I
nowhere
guess I
else.
went a little bit more to the
There's-
right, and I just never
there's
saw what you
no-
guys were
there's-
talking about.
There's no way we have the same trajectory coming off the plateau.
Yeah.
There's
no way
zero
between
chance
the
you have the
three
same
of us.
trajectory going off.
And that's fair. I think that adds to the fact if I explored this game so much every
Have
single
you
time I
guys,
haven't
have you guys opened the map and clicked X for Heroes Path mode?
No, what's that?
Oh, what the fuck?
It retraces all your steps.
Oh,
Retraces all your steps and all your deaths.
everything.
Yeah.
That seems bullshit.
Why is that
It's like
bullshit?
it's like just lines of feet going all over the place.
Well, yeah. So it retraces all your footprints and then it plays the Link death noise on every single death you had, like on all the little X marks on the spot.
Oh, so when you retrace it, it does it bit by bit by bit.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So you can start from the plateau and then from there, like you can like, I want to say it's like when games have theater mode and you can like hold the button down to like kind of fast forward and skip through and like go back a little bit. You can see literally your footsteps going through the map.
That's cool.
I'm
Yeah,
loading up my
it's really neat.
I'm loading up my save file right now, but it's a Nintendo Switch 1 game from 8 years ago, so
Oh,
there's loading. There's
yeah.
bad loading screens.
True.
You didn't have it
true.
already on, ready to pop up and play?
No, I closed this game. Like,
Well,
so-
while you're
Mhm.
loading that up, do we want to go ahead and start talking about ranking or?
I'm ready for it.
hold on, let me get there. Well, yeah, I'm in control of that, so I'm doing 2 things at once now. Hold on. Here we go.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I think Rivali's voice actor was good, but I don't know why that the cockiness
Rivali-
like
Rivali's Gale is now active.
he's always
I
talking down to you.
I hate that they tell you when it's active.
You got scared, you said.
I got because I was in the stealth mission, which sucks. But I was in the stealth
Oh,
mission.
yeah.
Oh, stealth in general in this game is terrible.
No, it's great. It could it be better? Absolutely. But I love it for what it is.
great. How can you say it's great and then follow it up with could it be better? Yeah. What? No, this is bad stealth.
Hey,
Well, great. There's room to move around with that word, but I still a strong word for.
Wait, so what button do
actually,
you press
yeah.
to get the hero mode?
I think it's X on the map. So it should say on the bottom like Heroes Path mode or something like that.
Yeah, and I guess I'll mention this while you're doing that. Yeah, stealth isn't that great in this game. Thankfully, there's only one moment you actually have to do that, and I never interact with it otherwise.
Same.
Mhm.
I don't have this button.
It's not there?
No.
Mysterious. Phil, are you a liar?
I gotta Google.
All I
gotta-
can do is Sheikah Sensor and then pick from Compendium Shrine. Otherwise, it's just the basic control moves. Put a thing down.
Path mode.
And I
you got it up
upgraded
too?
I upgraded the Sheikah slate. I got all of the. I think I got all the. I think. Oh, I didn't get the
Heroes
stasis
Path
upgrade.
mode. Heroes Path mode tracks every step Link has taken during the last 200 hours. This path appears on the map as a green line that follows Link's steps. The process can be sped up, paused, and skipped.
I believe you that it exists.
Opening the Sheikah slate's map, a notice. Huh.
This hero's path is. really worth it.
Oh, it's only if you have the expansion pass DLC.
Oh, okay.
That's why I never saw that.
Wait, the game tracks it even before that DLC existed?
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
You can see where you died, so I guess it would.
Yeah, it's just it's very funny because it'll literally replay all your steps from the last 200 hours, and every time you died, it'll play the Link death sound.
Interesting. Okay. All right. So, as we said before, we rank all the games that we do in this series. There are 34 entries on the list as of right now. Number 34 is Kingdom Hearts. Number 33, Fable. 32, BioShock. 31, Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. 30, Prey. 29, Tomb Raider 2013. 28, Alan Wake. 27, Batman Arkham Asylum. 26, Uncharted Drake's Fortune. 25, Signalis. 24, Halo Combat Evolved. 23, Dead Cells. 22, Shadow of the Colossus. 21, Mario 64. 20, Resident Evil 4. 19, Portal. 18, Banjo-Kazooie. 17, Ratchet & Clank. 16, Pokemon Soul Silver. 15, Severed. 14, Resident Evil HD. 13, Chrono Trigger, 12, Dishonored, 11, Metal Gear Solid, 10, Shovel Knight, 9, Portal 2, 8, Doom 2016, 7, Yakuza 0, 6, Metal Gear Solid 2, Sons of Liberty, 5, Hades, 4, Final Fantasy 7, 3, The Last of Us, 2, God of War Ragnarok, 1, Metal Gear Solid 3, Snake Eater. Phil, go ahead. Where do you want to put it?
I thought we'd start with you. We started with you when we recorded
All
this
right,
last time.
fine. Yeah, I think The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild is not a terrible game. I just don't think it's a great game. I think it's pretty average in everything it does except for one thing. And I think it clearly wears its influences on its sleeve. But as a piece of art that went out with intention and then executed on it, I think that execution falls quite short of its intention. And so it actually falls shorter. It falls shorter than the influences it's inspired by. And so for me, this game falls just below Shadow of the Colossus at the new number 23. We have all of our things broken up into tier systems. My personal feeling is that this would go into the C tier, but my objective feeling is probably it would stay in B. So 23, new bottom of B.
Myself, I think it'll come as no surprise to you guys, even though last time we recorded this, it was kind of a surprise for you guys. But I'm gonna wear it on my sleeve. I'm gonna say it with my chest. This is the new number 1 on the
That
list.
doesn't make any fucking sense.
It is the number 1 game on our list of games for the Game Club. I think it's incredible. I think it plays insanely good. I think it's very immersive as an open world. It's very fun to explore. I honestly think that I don't know if you brought it up this time, but last time we recorded this, you mentioned, Tavin, that you think Elden Ring does exploration better. I
Yeah.
don't even think that's the case. I think this game is like, and Tears of the Kingdom for that matter, are like the gold standard for exploration in games.
I agree. Specifically to that point, I think Elden Ring is just better at filling the world with stuff to do. A lot of Breath of the Wild is empty. Connor.
Very true. Yes, I have racked my brain. In fact, I racked my brain a substantially larger amount when I first stated my original placement on this list, which has not flagged. I would put it at the new number 6, above Metal Gear Solid 2, below Hades. Hades is just, it's a game you could pick up and play and play and play at any point in time, years from now. The only reason I wouldn't is because there's a second game out that'll probably have more depth to it. Metal Gear Solid 2, while it's a fantastic game as well, the problem is that I have issues with its plot that are, kind of hard to ignore, mainly everything surrounding Raiden and his relationships as well. And what was the other criticism I had? How a lot of the weight of that narrative is carried by the end and what happens with, how amazing of a thing it is that it does something that most other video games, I can't think of any other video game does so well, which is just being able to mirror what real life would be as it exists today, of the massive, overwhelming amount of information and how that's hard to sparse the truth out of it. But a lot of the issues with Raiden stuff and personal kind of hang up with the fact that they just drive home some points way too much, particularly a sad moment where a character dies and a character cries about it in 3 different scenes. I understand it might be realistic, but it's a video game and it just follows it over and over and over again. And by the end of it, I'm like, okay, I'm not really feeling it anymore. It was a character,
I think
especially
he only
in the
breaks down
game.
and cries twice. It's just the first time is very long.
That's what I was going to
Yeah.
say. I'm pretty sure one of the sticking points you had was Otacon and EE.
Yes. Yeah. Spoilers. But for a game, and also I don't think the level design
20 years ago.
Yeah. I also don't think the level design is all that fresh to me. Maybe there's more, as Tavin has talked about it before, he played on that game in hard, and those room-to-room moments become very more challenging. As someone who played on normal, who I think most people would play that as well, it's kind of just a breeze. More so than any of the other Metal Gear Solids I played so far, my limited time with 4 included. And to that point where it's just like, well, when your level design isn't really hitting it for me that much, and the narrative has a lot of issues with it that, You know, and I said it back in the last time we talked about it, which is that I understand as usually I don't understand when someone says, "Oh, well, you got rid of this character I like with this other character, and that's why I'm upset," which clearly seemed to be the case from when I was looking at it from the outside, replacing Solid Snake with Raiden.
That
But
was
then
the
come to
gamer's
find out,
reaction in 2002. Yeah.
yeah. But then I played the game and I was like, well, it's actually justified because Raiden's objectively worse, and Solid Snake's so great
But
to
he's
take him away.
supposed to be like that. That
See,
was
that's
the
the-
intention.
And that's kind of the issue where it's like, even if like with the intention that he was supposed to be an annoying character who has a bad dynamic with the person they love, that's carried through as if though they didn't have any issues whatsoever.
But he gets better.
Like
He goes through an arc, and he's by the end of it, like Raiden's cool.
But that's true, and he becomes cooler, of course, later on for what reasons everyone knows. But also, you know, the whole bit with his backstory just kind of comes out of nowhere. He's cooler. It's just like, oh, you remember? Like, it seemed like he didn't remember his past, but then he did remember it, and it just came across as very clunky. And due to that reason, and narrative being such a core focus of Metal Gear Solid games, I would put Breath of the Wild above it.
There it is.
It is, and I think because of that Metacritic score, I'm in the right side of history because, as everybody knows, Metacritic scores are always right and not based off of bias and people.
Yeah, this is just a thing that
personal preferences.
I've long resigned that I'm just wrong, I guess, about this, and I genuinely don't understand. Like like we could sit here talking about it till the cows come home, but like it doesn't make sense to me. Like, it doesn't feel good. Like, Phil said it, and I 100% disagree. I don't think this game feels good to play. Like, it's cool to jump around and like fly and like float through the areas and stuff, but the moment you have to interact with anything, like, I think it falls apart. It drives me crazy that Magnesis, you cannot rotate things. Like, why? Especially in some puzzles where the positioning of it like that matters so much. Like, why can't I rotate it? It just, like, I've just got things about that across the board. In cooking, why is it so hard to figure out what's what? In the why are these puzzles so simple? In combat, why does it not feel good to swing a sword? It's what I'm doing half the time. I
don't think it's difficult to find out what's what in cooking. What do you mean when you say what's what?
In the same, like, yes, if I throw meat in, a steak comes out. Yes, like, that's not anything. I'm talking about the specific results, the game mechanic results of it. Like, what makes it 15 hearts as opposed to 5 hearts? Like, what makes it, like, you know, like, it's stuff like that. Like, if I throw in an ingredient that does have speed boosting, why does sometimes the speed boost not come out? And it's usually because you have another ingredient that does another thing on it, but sometimes I throw both in and I get nothing out. Why do I get nothing out? Like, it's things like that that, like, make me go, what is the science behind this? Like, and there's no in-game way to figure that out without mass experimentation or looking at a guide.
Mm-hmm.
So, in the future, I'm just gonna have to ignore Breath of the Wild. Like, it just, like, you guys got it at the new number 6. Cool. Like, it's not like there are examples of games that I think are too high or too low, usually only by like max 3 or 4 spots. But this one, I like, it's on the opposite side of the list, and I like, it's baffling to me. Like, I don't get it.
So as far as, you know, I didn't think about it at the time. As far as math bears out, we've never had such a disparity between where we are placing in the list. Would that affect the ranking as it stands, as far as like the average? I'm not good at math, so I'm not the person to know that.
I'd have to do the math.
Yeah, but like if we start doing mathematical rankings, it would change the entire list.
Yeah,
that's true.
There would be ties and stuff, and I hate ties. Make a choice.
Yeah, fair.
You know, so it is what it is. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to be it. Your hour and 12 review of a game from 8 years ago that may or may not be the greatest of all time. Yippee.
You know, I think we can all agree this might have been annoying to do it again. At least we're not going to have, you know, how long of our podcast, if we tacked it on to the end of it, would it be 3 hours long? So time-wise, I guess this makes sense.
Sure. I guess, yeah. Next month, we are playing Metal Gear Solid 4 Guns of the Patriots. If you know If you've been paying attention to the series, we normally have a giant spinner picker wheel. Pick our game at random. That's how we got to Breath of the Wild, but we alternate months. So 1 month it's the wheel, 1 month one of us picks, and it alternates between which one of us picks. It's my turn. So we are finishing out the original 4 Metal Gear Solid games. At least like for now. We'll get to the other ones later, but like this is where I wanted us to stop when we started the journey of Metal Gear. So yeah, MGS4 is our next game. We'll be playing that in what month are we in? May. So we'll have a review for that at the beginning of June for you for that one. So make sure you're playing along with us if you have the ability to. If not, sorry, a master collection's probably coming at some point. Until next time, have a great time, gentlemen. Say goodbye to the people.
Bye. Goodbye. Goodbye. Hey,
Goodbye.
goodbye.